Hey guys, I'm Michael Newrock and welcome to the market analysis video for August 30, 2017. We'll get straight to it and I'll try to make this brief. Now, if you've been watching these over the last few days, that's fantastic. The great thing about these daily videos is there's continuity. So it's not just an isolated trade on its own. Hopefully you've been watching them in sequence. So, you can see how I assess the market on a day-by-day basis. And so that's good. I hope that you're picking up some useful insights. All right, so let's look at gold, Xou USD. It's 5 out of 6 of the higher time frames are pointing up. That means it's a conservative trend trade or a conservative upward market. We reached highs just up here, and we've been drifting back. MACD is still above the zero line, and it's been drifting down quite nicely. RSI is still above the 50 line, and of course, price is still in this trend. Now, if we get a swing here, it needs to close above the gold or fast-moving average. So it might not happen for another bar or two. It might happen on this bar. Who knows? But let's say it happens over the next bar or two, and say it starts drifting down to about here, swings up to about here. It's a valid trade. It's above the fast moving average at the time, and the stop will only be about probably about 600 pips. For gold, that's nothing, because of course there's 100 pips in every $1 of the movement in the gold price. So currently on about 13. Well, let's say if we hypothetically enter the market at 13.10, and the stop could be at like 13.04 or 13.03, somewhere around there. So $6 or $7 in the price of gold. But there's a decent move upward up to around 13.25. So that is about 1,500 pips and $15 price move in the price of gold. So, we've got a recent reference point here as a recent high, and it's solidly still in this upward move. So that's how I would play it. I won't even look at shorter time frames in this case, because they're all moving down based on this recent bar. But okay, let's have a quick look on the 15-minute. You can see it's still in the throes of this consolidation, moving down currently. So that this could be a good way to do it. If you didn't pick it up as a 4-hour swing trade, then you might look at it as a 15-minute trend trade. Wait for it if it comes back up to catch it as a 15-minute trend trade. Let's have a look at it on the 1 hour. Okay, and you can see it may have, a fair way to go. That's why we don't want to get into it too early. If a decent trade on the 15-minute comes up, then that may be a possibility. And on the 4-hour, again, of course, a swing to the upside, maybe a nice stable signal with relatively low risk, based on that higher time frame. You've got a nice reference point once again, so it could be good. And the risk reward is there as well, depending on how and where that swing bar closes. Okay, so let's keep on moving along. Euro was a fantastic trade to the upside, both in the trend and in the swing trades. Now, if you recall, I caught this on a 15-minute way down here. First trade didn't go that great, only about 20 pips, but the second trade went about 270 pips. There it is, right there. So, fantastic trade. Now, I still see it as upward moving. 4 out of 6 high time frames are pointing up. Very similar to gold in its pattern here. So we're looking for a swing to the upside on the 4-hour, maybe getting in on the short-term 15-minute for a nice, strong trend trade. You don't want to get on anything weak, like this would be considered a weak one. It turned out to not be valid, but if it was valid, then very, very weak. So, we've got some price movement over here. If we see it punch through up here, then it could be a good opportunity to get in on a 15-minute. Probably only a small 20, 25 pip stop with the opportunity of around 80, 90 pips to these ultimate recent highs. And that is what traders are going to be looking as their reference point. They can see that, whoa, it hit these highs here at 120.70, and it's currently 119.57, so about 120 pips down from its high, right? So if we get a nice swing here, it may still drift down and may curl down a little bit, and a nice swing to the upside could see a good opportunity there. Again, very much like gold, small, well, reasonably decent stop around 30, 40 pips and about 100 pips to the recent high, which would be the reference point for the target. Pound also looking like it could be swinging up. A 4-hour would be a nice time frame to take it on. High time frame on the 4-hour will change to green. If it does, if we do see this MACD changing the green, so you can see over here, just in this existing bar, it's moved down and then it's retraced. Okay, so it's like a false break to the downside. So we may be getting a flip in price here, and if we see a nice swing, so let's say it closes up here and gives a swing on this bar, you're looking at about 60 pips on the stop and about 300 pips for the ultimate reward. So, that's a 5 times reward multiplier. Very, very good. Of course, you'd want it to see it pass this recent high, but I think this is more of just a little bit of a correction, a little bit of profit taking. The market was moving pretty slow, but I think we might get some more movement in the pound to the upside if this price swings up. And again, just like the euro and the gold pair, we might be able to get in on a shorter time frame. Not there yet on the 15-minute, but maybe you can see prices already rebounding back up. If we look at the 5-minute, just for fun, let's see, let me try that again. 5-minute. And there we go. Okay, so it's already happened, and on the 5 minutes, that's a pretty big move up. I don't really trade on those super short time frames, but the 15-minute has proved to be fairly good, fairly reasonably stable. 1 hour, there's an opportunity as well, but not at the moment, and not looking like a good trend trade if it occurred. So again, my pick, a 15-minute trend trade or a swing on the 4-hour. Of course, the swing on the 4-hour is going to give you a lot more. You're going for bigger targets, right? There's 300 pips to this high over here. So, if we continue to get moves to the upside, then it could be a very good trade. Euro pound. Now, I've been waiting for this to flip with the pound and Swiss. We're starting to see very early movements. Trend followers just changed to green. Price has broken past both fast-moving average and slow-moving average, the gold and gray. It's sitting above that right now, so still very much downward, under pressure. But we may have a flip, and same with the euro pound. I mean, this one, it's still, the MACD is still above the zero line, so we could see a swing back up, but there's really not a lot in it at this stage, and you can see price is already sinking below the gray moving average right now. So I'd say that price is failing right now on this rally. Could be the start of a new downward move, particularly if the pound shows strength, and the pound is, see, just as we've been watching it, that this candle is starting to flip to the upside, and the euro weaker than the pound in its current support zone. You can see here it didn't drop much, and it's already bouncing back. With the euro, it dropped quite a bit. It's not bouncing quite as much. So watch the euro pound for a possible move to the downside. It needs to be bidirectional at the very least for you to consider that. But at this stage, no real trade to the upside, unless we saw it on another time frame. But it even if it swings up, there's just not a lot of room there for that trade to occur. So pound Swiss, pretty much the opposite of the euro pound. Aussie's been moving up. There was some economic data that came out, and I don't really follow economic data, but in this case, it was I just heard about it that it was construction, and it's kind of funny because the results weren't very good, but they weren't as bad as expected. So we saw the Aussie rally, but I don't believe that this Aussie is going to go much higher than it is now. It's been pretty noisy, pretty roller coaster-ish. It's showing 406, but a move to the downside could change it to bidirectional pretty quickly. So the Aussie Kiwi is still showing strength, and I've been looking at that as well as possible flipping, but it hasn't as yet. It's surpassed the recent highs, and the strength of the Aussie, I think, probably just wait for the dust to settle on these pairs. Kiwi as well. It looked like it was going to break up with a nice swing to the upside, but it's collapsed since then. Still weaker than the Aussie, with the Aussie versus the Kiwi being the stronger of the two. So this one's just not a lot of a momentum in it right now. If there was a nice big swing, then that might be okay. It would change from bidirectional to a conservative only upward move. And all I can say here is that, let's say it swung up to about this point here, around here. Again, the risk reward isn't very good for this high, but if you were going to take it, maybe consider moving your stops to break even as soon as price gets to close to this high. If it breaks through, then fantastic. You can start locking in profits, particularly as it heads to this next point of resistance just along here. Okay. So dollar CAD, it kind of wants to move. It's changed to four out of 6 high time frames pointing up, and we might get a swing now. It's only been one red histogram bar, so you need to have 2 technically, but you can make it work on 1, and the settings are customizable to the point that you can do that. But the dollar has been taking a bit of a beating. It's still under pressure. It's not really a big move to the upside. You can see the MACD is really flat. Maybe another big move now could see you get in with a swing up, and the risk reward's pretty good. 40 pips if it breaks through this point. Again, you might want to lock in stops to break even when it hits 15, 17 pips in profit, and then move towards this bunch of highs here around 60 pips. So you want to maybe place your second target at around that 50, 55 pips, just so you can lock in profits before any changes occur. Okay, dollar Swiss still under pressure. If we get a swing to the downside, MACD is below the 0 line, we could continue to see downward moves in the dollar Swiss, particularly because it's pretty much the reverse correlation of the euro, which is showing strength. So if we see more weakness in the euro, then maybe we could see a flip in this. But at the moment, it's showing down. Let's say it swings down to around here. Stop would be around 40 pips, and the low here gives us a reward of almost 90 pips. So that's at least 2 to 1 reward to risk, or 2 times reward multiplier. So it might be a good one. US has been under a lot of pressure lately for various reasons. So dollar yen, it has been moving upward now. I'm not sure if we've got some pretty crazy things happening right now. I think overnight, North Korea fired a missile over Japan. To me, that kind of changes the game, and firing a missile short of Japan to land short of Japan is one thing, bad enough, but to have it fire over the country of Japan, a totally different thing. I'm anxious to see what's going to happen there. But I guess what I'm getting at is we're going to see potentially weakness in the yen, because this is not good. And yen's always been seen as a safe haven when there's political instability. But right now, Japan is finding itself in the center of this potentially awful situation. And yeah, even a terrible situation right now. I hope it gets resolved and resolved quickly. So anyway, we've got a moving average crossover occurring just over here. It's a bit further than where I'd like to see it. It's over 60 pips. On a 4 hour, that's not too bad. And being a yen cross, some things in its favor. It's past these recent highs, this pivot high, this pivot high. So, we could be seeing another move upward. Now, 60, 70 pips for your stop, around 90 to 100 pips for this high. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's almost 2 to 1, really. It's a good 1.5. You want to always place your targets prior to the highs, because that's where resistance is going to come into play, or prior to the lows for sells, where support will potentially get stronger as it gets closer to that high or that low, depending if it's a resistance or a support. Okay, Euro Yen went really well earlier in the week. Or over the last few days, I took a trade that went really well, 100 pips and 130 pips for first and second position, and taken out by this bar, I seem to recall. But anyway, it's gone to move on. Even this swing has gone extremely well, and I wouldn't normally take a swing that's really that far away from the origination of the trend, and but yet it's gone well. So helped along, of course, by the euro strength. Pound yen hasn't been moving as high. If we do get a strong move with the pound, then this might be worth considering, although it has already taken off. So with the MACD being fairly high, I would tend to be more interested in looking for a bit of a correction and then a swing up, and catch the next swing up. Aussie yen's been moving up on the strength of the Aussie today, but it's not a trade that I'm really looking at. Although 5 out of 6 high time frames are placed up, I'm just not totally convinced on the direction of the Aussie at the moment. Kiwi yen, it's more of a bargain price right now, but the Kiwi has been really under pressure a lot more than the Aussie. It's been the weaker of the two. If there's a flip in that Aussie-Kiwi pair, then that's going to give us the indication that the Kiwi is strengthening over the Aussie, and then this one might be okay. But as yet, there's still quite a bit of room in it, about 90 pips to these highs here. So there could be an opportunity, but it really depends. If we get weakness in the yen, when you start to see the yen crosses moving up, then it might be a good one. CAD yen, it's a little bit too noisy for my liking. There is a moving average crossover occurring here. All I can say is, and the way that this looks is, consider moving your stop to break even as quickly as possible, just in case there is a reversal. Swiss yen been moving up dramatically, just like the euro. Of course, Swiss from Switzerland, in the middle of Europe. They're inherently linked, and so that's why we've seen strength in the Swiss yen as the euro yen's been moving up. Euro Aussie, finally we've had a correction here. This is interesting. It's the MACD's drop just below the zero line. If we get a move up, a nice big move, it'd have to be to around here, then that would be a valid swing. We'll get for sure, or very likely, this MACD histogram popping back to above the zero line, and if it gets above this histogram, then we could see it changing to green, being a valid swings trade. RSI by then would more than likely be above the 50 line. 4 out of 6 is still pointing up. It has collapsed quite a bit. It's been a great ride. The Euro Aussie has been one of the better trades of the last week and a half. So at this stage, unless I see a crossover or changing to bidirectional, I'd be a bit more cautious. But at this stage, I'm still looking at the possibility of getting in. If we lose the opportunity to trade as a swing trade on the 4 hour, then Again, maybe the 1 hour or even the 15 minute. Let's have a look. It's really just under support. There's no move here at this stage, so it's not a setup that I'd be interested in. 1 hour still drifting down, so we need to get that support. So right now it is under pressure. I would be looking at sticking on the 4 hour. If you see some movement upward, then you can change time frames to take a look at it on a shorter time frame, see if it works out. Pound Aussie. Okay, so the story of the pound has just been weaker. It has moved now. It was looking likely of popping up, but wasn't to be. And that's just how it is in trading. You want to hold on to your winners and get the most that you can from those winners, and that's going to absorb any losses that you have on trades that didn't eventuate. This actually didn't qualify as a 4 hour. We looked at it in the chat room as a 15-minute, and just wasn't to be. So at this stage, I'm on the sidelines. See how we go over the next day or two. Euro Kiwi, again, strength in the euro is keeping this up, and Kiwi has been weaker, so it's really gone well. This is another one of the big winners of the last week and a half. When we were looking at targeting just this high, it just smashed through so much further. If we get a swing trade with the MACD changing the green, then this could be a nice one. Let's say above the fast-moving average, about 50, 60 pips on the stop, and about 100, 110 pips for this recent high, which acts as the reference. You know, when price reaches a high, quite often you'll see what's called a double top. You'll see price driving towards that previous high. Again, it's a reference point for traders. They're eyeing that off. They figure that they're thinking, well, it's made it to that point. It's just been rallying like crazy. It's made an all-time high for this period, and there's no reason why it can't make it again. So, if we see that happen, it may make it, the resistance may push it back down, or it may break through. But this could be an opportunity, even though it's still high. And again, the further you get away from the start of these trends, the more careful you need to be, and the more you need to consider whether you should be, at the very least, moving your stops to break even early in the game. Because at these points it's not going to be a huge surprise if we see a big price downward, and then we can wait for the next new trend trade, for example. But just be careful on those trades. Pound Kiwi been going better than the Pound Aussie because of the weakness in the Kiwi, and right now there's no real trade. Trend follower has already turned to red, and a moving average crossover has started to occur. Not saying that it will. We still need to see price down here, and it's moving back up, and we're in a 4 out of 6 high time frames pointing up conservative market. Alrighty, so let's continue. Aussie CAD been moving up. 4 out of 6 high time frames are pointing up. Both the trend and the swing are pointing up. This trend would maybe have knocked you out. You can see here there was a big correction. Doesn't always happen, but it happens occasionally. And the first clue for that is, it's a really big bar. It was quite a distance from the crossover point. So it may have been one that I would have taken, but it may not have. I'm just saying that it's getting up there. The swing did a little bit better, although it has been a bit noisy, but up, down, up, down. So just be careful with this one. Kiwi CAD. Again, one that I had actual hopes for back when it was here, and it crashed through and collapsed on itself. It's since then moved up again and been consolidating since. So, wow, if it drifts maybe a little bit more and it swings up and it's a nice big swing, the market may be ready for a move up. Particularly, obviously, it's got to be at least bidirectional. But a swing to the upside will do that, because the 4-hour swing arrow will turn to a green upward arrow. So the swing in itself will create that bidirectional market. And it could still be a good one, but we need to see strength in the Kiwi. EuroCAD's a better choice. Just wait for this correction to just resolve itself. It may have more to go. It may not. You can see a bit of a retracement here on the existing bar, so we'll just pop down to the 15-minute, see if we can get a better opportunity. We can't. It just looks noisy and not very nice as a compared to a clean setup. 1 hour not looking fantastic either. So I would stick it on the 4 hour. Don't go chasing trades if it's just not there. So maybe park it on the 4 hour, wait for a swing, or if you see a price move, and then check again on the 15-minute or the 1 hour. But I don't think this correction has been fully resolved. And pound CAD, just to wrap it up, swing trade occurring right now, 4 out of 6 with that swing. If we get some strength in the pound, could be a really nice one. Really nice small risk. Let's say it popped up to about here. You've got about, it's about 100 pips, but for a CAD cross, that's not awfully big. And then we've got 350 pips, 500 odd pips. Just reduce your lot size. The bigger the stop, the more you should reduce your lot size, just to keep your trades under control. Alrighty, so that is the analysis for today. Thanks very much for watching once again, and just going back to this couple of these trades. Let's see how we go. Patience is important in trading. There's been some fantastic trades over the last week and a half, and let's see what eventuates today. There are some good opportunities, but wait for some good opportunities. Don't just go for any trade. And it's okay to not trade for a day or two. If the trades aren't there, we can't force the market. We just have to be patient, wait for those setups to occur, and not try to get in on the action every day. With that, I wish you good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon.